Best episode yet. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel at Asha Media TV. My name is Asha, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. This is where I like to watch and review a variety of stuff related to sci-fi, fantasy / comic books. And in today's video, I'm going to summarize the latest episode of Superman and Lois, episode 5, titled The Best of Smallville, and then I'm going to give you my full review about this episode. But before I do that, I do need to cover about 3 things with you, especially if you are a current subscriber. So you may have noticed right away that I am no longer going to be reacting to episodes of TV shows and movies, specifically here on YouTube. I will not be uploading any reactions. And the reasons for that, you can definitely check out in my updates video about my channel, posted somewhere right here, and also in the description box for you. I won't go into details about that. You'll have to watch the video to find out, so you can make an informed decision if you are still interested in being a subscriber to this channel. I know most of you could be subscribers simply because you like seeing me react to things. However, I've encountered some problems I don't want to have to deal with any further, so if you want more details, you'll have to watch my updates video. With that aside, if you are indeed interested in listening to my perspective, my 2 cents worth about this episode, keep on watching. And with that being said, spoilers ahead! I am definitely going to be talking about this week's episode as well as previous episodes that have aired. And lastly, I want you to know that I'm what's considered a normie. This is my normie disclaimer coming up there on the screen if you're not familiar with it. And it pretty much tells you that I only pay attention to the mainstream properties related to comic book type stuff. I don't read the comic books, so I only know what's been presented on TV and in the movies. Therefore, if you're going to be correcting me on anything that I misinterpret or get wrong or what thereof, please take that into consideration and be a little easy on me in the comment section. So this week's episode opens up with what I've been waiting for forever since the beginning of this show, and that is to see Clark Kent do some farming. We finally see Clark do some farming using his super speed to harvest all that corn, and a really nice family-centric moment between the boys and Lois, where Clark tries really hard to convince them that HarvestFest, which is this event that happens every year in Smallville, is not only going to be, a blast and it's going to be the time of their lives, but it's also a really fun event that he holds dear to his heart from his youth growing up in Smallville. And Jonathan is also excited, but not necessarily for the harvest itself, but for the reason that his girlfriend that he left back in Metropolis is actually going to visit for the harvest. But unfortunately, Jonathan's joy is short-lived. Not even 2 seconds after Jordan scores his first date with Sarah Cushing. Yes, he gets the dreaded phone call, along the lines of, "It's not you, it's me," kind of thing. Likely not, who knows. Either way, Eliza breaks up with Jonathan over the phone, and although Jordan tries really hard to console him, Jonathan is really angry and upset and not receptive to much emotional support at that moment in time. Moving forward, we get an interesting surprise where Sharon Powell from last week's episode, who had claimed that her son Derek Powell had gone missing and likely in a suspicious way, has now showed up at the office with her son Derek Powell safe and sound. And so Lois gets the news from Chrissy, who is completely alarmed about it, and rightly so, because although Sharon is claiming that all is well, all is fine, she's just happy her son's returned to her safe and sound, we as viewers can clearly see that something's off with Mr. Powell. And the most interesting part of that scene is how it ends off showing Captain Luthor parked outside of the actual Gazette watching Lois. And we find out that he's following her or watching her because he knows that wherever Lois is, Superman follows. So that made it clear that he's actually not aware that Clark Kent is Superman. In the next scene, we're at Smallville Community Center, where we see Lana and other organizers of the Harvest event accept donations from community residents. And we then see Sharon and Derek Powell show up to give their donations. Then all of a sudden, Derek seems unwell and he tries escaping the situation, and he skedaddles quickly away from everybody to find himself in some kind of storage room where he decides to call someone, and you see he's going through some kind of weird physical problem. His eyes start glowing red. Then he pretty much just goes all Cyclops in a room, pretty much just displaying the heat vision or the ocular release of energy all over the community center. Then right after that, we move over to Clark, where we see a very interesting memory from Clark as a young man trying to actually be somewhat of a superhero or vigilante in his community in Smallville. And he tries to stop these robbers from robbing this electronics store place. And what I loved about this scene is, first of all, I did not expect it. I really did not think we would go back in memories or live action memories of Clark as a young man in Smallville. And so I loved it for these reasons. I loved it for the fact that it reminded me of the actual show Smallville, and I love the fact they're going to introduce these memories that Clark has of his time in Smallville to give us a lot more context for his mindset in the moment, in the present time of this show. And while we're watching Clark have those memories about his time as a young vigilante, we then find out that Smallville Community Center is pretty much ablaze with fire. The fire department are there. Kyle Cushing is there. He finds out that one of his colleagues are trapped in the fire. He runs in, being the Superman he is, and Clark finds himself there as well, but not in his Superman getup. He's got to work in the shadows here and there. He uses his super breath to alleviate the situation, to save Kyle and his colleague from being burnt to death. And yeah, it was really funny watching Kyle be like, what the hell just happened here? And Kyle noticing that there's actual frost in the air from Clark/Superman that he doesn't know was actually there. And after saving Smallville Community Center from being burnt to a crisp, Clark returns home with some pizza for the family. Jonathan and Jordan come back home from school. Jonathan is visibly upset, and Jordan spills the beans that he got dumped by Eliza. Lois does her best to go out and try and console Jonathan, but he again seems a little bit resistant for anybody's opinion on the situation. Then we see Lois find out about the fire at the community center and her suspicions behind the cause of the fire. She heads on over, being Lois Lane, the reporter that she is, to do the necessary line of questioning she needs to do, and she finds out that Derek Powell was actually there when the fire started and wasn't seen afterwards. Instead, we find out that Sharon Powell was actually looking for her son after the fire began. Then we have another fascinating scene where Captain Luthor introduces himself to Lois, posing as a journalist, pretty much soliciting his services as a journalist with her team. And so us as a viewer, we're led to believe that he just wants to, be as close to Lois as possible because he's waiting for Superman. But we find out it's more than just that. And while that's going on with Lois and Mr. Luthor there, we have Chrissy, on the other hand, snooping around on Sharon Powell's phone to track Derek's phone because he happens to be sharing the same cell phone plan within this weird little moment of like, we hate cell phone plans situation going on. And so that leads Chrissy to track Derek's location to find out what happened to him and where did he go after the fire. Meanwhile, in the Kent household, Jonathan has a huge blow up with Dad. He pretty much tells Dad, Clark, that he hates Smallville, he wants to go back and live there again. His life has been turned upside down, nothing's working out for him. It's a pretty intense scene, and we see Clark not only empathize with Jonathan, but we then have another live action memory of him as Clark back in his youth when he himself decided to run away from Smallville to find his own path. And at the Cushing household, all is a bit still very tense and quite full of drama, where Alana confronts Kyle about his drinking habit. Kyle's trying to reason that, hey, I had a hard time at work, it was just a couple of drinks, while Lana's pretty much like, a couple of drinks too much. So in that scene, we're able to see more of the tensions within their marriage and the reasons behind it on both ends. Around the corner, Sarah witnesses what's going on between her mom and dad. she kind of steps in and she's like, okay, Mom, go do your thing. I'll stay here with Dad and take things from there. Meanwhile, Jonathan and Jordan have arrived at the HarvestFest, and Jonathan makes the unwise decision to start drinking it up with some friends on the side, while Jordan's trying to warn him, you probably shouldn't be doing that, not a good idea. He's like, I'm having some fun. Which clearly shows us as an audience that we are going to be seeing some poop likely hit the fan because of his decision to do some underage drinking. And then we come back to the Cushing household, to what I consider to be one of the most amazing scenes of this episode, and that's a very emotional moment between Sarah and her father, where Kyle just pretty much turns to her and asks her if she remembers a lullaby that he used to sing to her when she was young. And he starts singing it in Spanish, and you can clearly see that that was a moment in her childhood that not only means a lot to her in terms of her connection and her relationship to her father, it's also a memory that he holds very dear. Both actors do such a fantastic job in showing so much more than they're saying. We now arrive at the scene where all the action starts ensuing with the Superman aspect of things. And that's a scene where Derek meets up with Leslie, and we find out that not only are they in a romantic relationship with each other, but that Derek has been exposed to some kind of radiation, it seems, from a foreign or alien entity. And Superman finds out about this, and he comes storming in, literally dropping down into the room, where Derek's eyes starts lighting up all Kryptonian-like, and he flies the heck out of there, claiming that he's been resurrected, and he calls out to Superman by his Kryptonian name, Kal-El. And so while they're having their flight fight, as I like to call it, we've got Captain Luthor on the corner, and he's like, what is happening here? And his AI is like, Superman's doing his Superman thing, time to go get him. So he goes about chasing Superman with some bazooka high-tech thing. He aims it perfectly. It takes out the two Supermen having their flight fight. And then we see Derek, or what we think is Derek, but likely wasn't Derek. It's some other consciousness that says that they're already dead. And so the body of Derek Powell disintegrates into flames. And while all that craziness was going on with Superman, back at the HarvestFest, Jordan and Sarah are kind of connecting a little bit on their first date, you know, inch by inch kind of thing. Then Jonathan and his drunken self and his drunken friends show up, being a bit douchey. And Sarah's like, nah, I'm not having none of this. Date ended. Peace out. Literally, she actually leaves Jordan. She's like, the date's over. And bounces. Once everything settles down and the Kent boys are back at home, safe and sound, Clark reaches out to Jonathan, and he's really honest with him, letting him know that he made a foolish decision to leave home when he was young, and if Jonathan wants to do the same, he is understanding of it. However, he's just asking for Jonathan to give Smallville a little bit more time and hoping things will work out. And if things don't work out, dude, they'll figure out other arrangements for him. And Clark gives him a memento that was given from his father to his mother, and now he's passing it on to Jonathan. A very heartfelt scene between them as a family, and you're able to see very well in the scene, wonderfully performed by Tyler Hoechlin, the deep-rooted sorrow that Clark has about his decision to have left Smallville at such an early age and leaving his mom behind at that time. Which leads to the second most touching, emotionally cry-fest moment, for me anyway, of this episode. And that was the community organized by Lana Lang specifically, alongside Lois, dedicating this specific bench in front of the bank, the Smallville bank, where Martha used to sit and talk to different people back and forth, and she used to sit there with her son Clark as well. And they dedicate this bench in honor of Martha Kent with this cute plaque on it. This was a commemoration of Martha as not only a community member, but as a beloved community member that everyone missed dearly since her passing. And of course, we see the one person that affects so deeply is Clark himself. And again, Tyler hit a home run with the feels on this one, and it was really, really beautiful to see. Then we get one of the most bombshell revelations, probably the moment where I was like, oh my God! And that is when Captain Luthor reveals to us as an audience through his memories that Lois Lane on his Earth was his, beloved. She was his Lois and not Clark's. And so for me, I'm just like, yes, the party has started, because not only is he going to be battling Superman, he's now going to be trying to undercut Clark Kent, not knowing that Clark and Superman are both the same people. Or does he know? I don't think he does. It doesn't seem like he does. I'm sure some of you will let me know in the comments if he does, but that's what I perceived. And then this episode leaves us with probably the most brutal cliffhanger. And that's a happy Jordan, which we don't see quite often in this show, but a happy skippity-doo Jordan walking home only to get attacked by his classmate that we saw in last week's episode, Tag. And his classmate seems to be fully superpowered, and he's knocking out Jordan, trying to find out what the hell has happened to him. Now, from last week's episode, we were told that Tag was actually put into this special school for the gifted kind of thing. So the question is now, did he just escape and he remembered that Jordan was part of the whole situation of his dilemma in the first place, and that's why he's attacking Jordan? It seems to be the case. But nonetheless, this episode leaves our jaw dropped with him attacking Jordan in such a vicious manner. As I said in the intro, I think this is the best episode yet. If you go back and watch my reaction to episodes 1 through to 4, a lot of my moments of excitement and joy had a lot to do with the action sequence. I've even said that even if the story is crap, I'll still watch it as long as I get great action sequences. And I still feel that way. But after seeing this episode and seeing how far they're willing to go with not only giving us great things to look at, but things to genuinely feel towards these characters, I'm even more excited for this entire season. So what I usually like to do when I give my review of an episode is touch on some stuff that I didn't really like and end off with a positive note of the stuff that I loved. The only thing that I will say I was a tiny bit disappointed with, just a tiny bit, was that there wasn't enough Superman action. We had that sequence of him doing, the flight fight, as I like to call it, and of course, the bulldozing in the cornfields, very much a la Man of Steel, which, this whole show is kind of blueprinted from, it seems. And Clark doing Superman stuff behind the scenes when he was saving the day at the Smallville Community Center. So that's really honestly my only gripe. That's it. Everything else in this episode, I was here for it and I loved it. So let's start with the first thing I loved. The emotional beats was on point. Where they wanted me to feel something, I felt it, and I felt it organically. That scene between Sarah and her father, oh my goodness, I wish that went on just a little bit longer for just a tiny bit more context about that memory they had. But it was enough for me to know that there's a strong bond between this daughter and her father that has been since her childhood. And it also exemplifies to us as viewers the Latin heritage that seems to be from Kyle's side of the family, to which I would like to see more of, and I hope they touch on that in future episodes. And the second thing I really loved was these flash memories of Clark, being a vigilante or trying to be one somewhat in Smallville. And of course, his decision to leave Smallville to go find himself and become Superman, as we know later on. And what makes those scenes work in the context of this episode is that it's relevant to the present time. They're not just showing it for the sake of showing it. They're showing it for you to connect then to now. Now, to be honest, I hope they don't make it a habit to do that in every episode, because, we've had 10 seasons of Smallville. So if we want to know a lot about the whole Clark Kent in Smallville, we have that show to go to. I'm aware that was a different time, and we can show different versions of Clark in this particular series. However, it's called Superman and Lois. So I hope that the writers, ease up a bit on these flash memories, and I hope they do it like they've done it in this episode, where it's in the context of what's happening in the present moment with adult Clark, Superman, right? That's where I think it makes more sense and it fits well for us to understand what's going on in his mind based on what's happened to him in the past. And the third thing that I loved was this interesting reveal of what happened to Derek and Derek's connection to this alien or foreign thing that, from what I'm seeing, mind you, again, I'm a normie, I don't know the comic book stuff, and I'm just going by what I've watched in previous episodes to now. So it seems to me that what Derek was exposed to was something Kryptonian for sure, because not only did he call Clark by his Kryptonian name, but to claim that he was resurrected with something foreign. I'm suspecting it's possibly the Kryptonian Codex of some kind, to which Morgan Edge has figured out how to transfer the consciousness of these Kryptonian personalities within this codex into people. So that makes me question now who Leslie actually is. Many of you have commented that Leslie is a Kryptonian, predominantly a villain from the Supergirl comics, which I don't discount at all. However, if now we are dealing with the Codex bringing to life a variety of Kryptonians, or more or less taking over the bodies of the people in Smallville, then it's fair to say that Leslie could actually be a different Kryptonian personality. And the fourth thing that I absolutely loved, if you didn't hear it in my voice, was Captain Luthor and his now double dual whammy of not only trying to chase down Superman to take him down, but the love of his life from his Earth, who's Lois on this Earth, is still someone he wants. And now Clark is in his way. And if I'm right, and it seems as if very clearly he does not know that Clark Kent is Superman, all the more it's going to be so much fun to watch him try to win over Lois, or I guess get rid of Clark to get Lois, while still trying to find Superman and kill him, and not knowing that Clark and Superman are the same people. Oh my goodness, I'm going to keep watching the show just for that reveal alone, even if poop might hit the fan on other aspects of the story narrative. You can count on that. And the last thing that I really enjoyed with this episode was its focus on community. I really, really enjoyed that. We know from episode 1 that the main reason that Lois and Clark decided to move their family to Smallville was not only to escape, the busy, hectic craziness of Metropolis, but it also was to regroup as a family and to find back their roots within a community to which they can find a pillar of support on different levels. And I really feel that this episode executed it so well and kind of gave it this nice finishing touch by making Martha Kent the actual symbol of this community, right? She's the heart of what this community aspires to be in terms of their love and their respect and their sense of duty and responsibility to those around them. And I felt using this whole commemorative bench that was so wonderfully done and makes this episode the most memorable because I felt the most connected emotionally. So there you have it, folks. That is my review of this episode of Superman and Lois, episode 5, The Best of Smallville. I cannot wait for the next episode. However, I just found out that they're not coming back with episode 6 till May. May, people! Oh my gosh. Can you wait that long? I don't know. So apparently they're going to be replacing the episodes with episodes of Supergirl, which I've decided I will cover because I want to see if it's going to tie into episode 6 and other episodes of Superman and Lois. And of course, I'm curious to see if the connection they may make between both shows have some relevance that will mean something to me. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe, click on that notification bell and all that good stuff. I'm Asha, peacing out for now, people. Have a good one. Bye. Thanks for watching. Check out my other videos and subscribe. You know you wanna.